I just want to thank everyone who's helped me put together these webinar series, Team Heinrich, as well as Team Lujan, Stansberry, Liger Fernandez, and Vasquez for helping share the webinars. So if everyone is unaware, I know it says probably Marissa Silva on the screen. I'm Lisa Van Timshi. I'm the delegation's grant coordinator. So I work for both senators and all three members of the House of Representatives for New Mexico, and I deal with all things grants. You'll probably see a few other faces on here. They're the Team Heinrich. They've been helping me with some of the questions and helping me monitor the webinar as we go through. So before I begin, I do want to share a video recording real quick, and I just have to pull it up because I'm not on my computer. So give me 1 second.
Hi, I'm Senator Martin Heinrich. I am grateful to all of the law enforcement officers, first responders, and victims advocates who protect New Mexico families and make all of our communities safer. Through my role on the Senate Appropriations Committee, I am committed to steering federal resources to New Mexico to improve community safety throughout our state. As part of that effort, I am proud to join the entire New Mexico congressional delegation in hosting a series of webinars to highlight federal funding opportunities through the U.S. Department of Justice. I hope that these sessions will help local and tribal governments, local law enforcement agencies, and community nonprofits throughout New Mexico learn more about the Department of Justice's grant programs. I would like to thank the Department of Justice staff who administer the application processes for these grant programs that support a wide array of law enforcement initiatives and assistance programs for crime victims. And I encourage all of the New Mexicans who are joining to keep working closely with me and my office to answer any further questions and to identify additional federal resources that might be a good fit for supporting your critically important work. Thank you.
Just get started. So Dennis Miller, if you'd like to begin. I believe you have hosting capabilities, so you're able to take over the screen as needed.
Good morning or good afternoon to everyone, whatever part of the world you're in. My name is Dennis Miller, and I want to thank Lisa and the group from the congressional delegation for inviting me today to just talk a little bit about the Office of Justice Programs, what we do, how we try to help stakeholders in your neck of the woods. So let me lay some groundwork to begin with. First, I am probably the opposite of a subject matter expert. I have no idea what I'm talking about. However, my job is to build relationships and to make sure that I'm getting information to the congressional offices, to the stakeholders, and to get you in contact with the folks in the program offices that have the information about what I'm going to deliver today. So what I'm most likely not going to do is to answer the questions that are posed to us.
But it's the same one.
Now we can
You
hear
want
you.
to go try and figure out your tech issues?
Yeah.
Okay.
Marissa, you're not on mute.
You're gonna call in.
Oh, sorry.
Do I need something?
No, I'm not on mute.
We good? So I'm most likely not going to answer any substantive questions. If you ask me what the address of OJP is, I can get that right to you. But what I'll do is I'll take your questions back to the subject matter experts, have them, give me a robust, full answer, and get that back to you so that you can get, some really good information, and then see what I can do about, making those connections and having you be able to speak to the SMEs directly. So that's first. Second, inside the chat room, I put my name, my email address, my phone number. If you do need things from OJP, you want information, you want to know when the next grant workshop is going to be, you want, to just have a conversation about, I don't know, where I got my lapel pin or whatever. Just reach out to me, let me know, and I'll reach back out to you. So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully this works the way that I intended to. And we will get started. All right, can everybody see that okay? Outstanding. So again, I'm Dennis Miller. I work in the Office of Communications at the Office of Justice Programs. We are one of the business offices of OJP. And again, we do a lot of relationship building. We work inside of media, and my job is a congressional and intergovernmental specialist, but that's besides the point. What we're going to do is get into some of the ways that DOJ does their business and how OJP fits into it. So the Department of Justice has the 3 grant-making components that you see on the screen in front of you. All of them are separate but equal, and we work alongside one another to get work done, but we don't have visibility into each other's day-to-day operations. So if you have questions about COPS or OVW, what I would do is get that information over to my contacts there and get them back in contact with you. So the 3 grant-making components are the Office of Justice Programs, which I work in, the Office on Violence Against Women, so OVW, and the Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services, which is COPS. And you can read below what all of us do. We award grants to address these priorities. And, our main function is to make sure that the stakeholders have the ability to address the issues that they're trying to on the ground in the district for their constituents. So I, again, work at OJP, and OJP does these things. We provide federal leadership to federal, state, and local. We strengthen partnerships, rather. And again, that's another one of the things that I'm very interested in doing, strengthening partnerships. We administer the grants awards process, and that's something that I will talk more on as we go along in our presentation today. So you can read all of these things. Oh, and as well, one of the things that I'm going to make sure happens is that this slide deck and whatever other stuff I can get to the congressional office, I'm going to get that out as soon as I possibly can, so that you can take a look at all of these slides and read them for yourselves, and formulate any other questions you might have moving forward. So OJP has a bunch of different offices, but the ones that you want to concern yourself with are our program offices, and they are all listed here from top to bottom. There are 6 of them, and we'll go over them in a little bit more detail as we go through. The Bureau of Justice Assistance, again, strengthens and helps local, state, tribal. And you'll excuse me, I have a boxer who's very interested in being involved in my day-to-day operations. So if you see him in the background, please don't be alarmed. He's harmless. BJA strengthens and helps the America's state, local, and tribal jurisdictions by providing grants, training, technical assistance. Think of BJA for law enforcement, corrections, things of that nature. The Bureau of Justice Statistics is our the next program office I want to talk to you about. BJS is a principal source for statistics. If you need any information about antelope crime in 2016, I'm sure that they can tell you that they have no idea. But if you do need information about any issues pertaining to justice statistics, you want to get in contact with BJS. Also, excuse me, I live on a base here in New Jersey, Joint Base McGuire. So if you hear planes flying overhead, please don't be alarmed. So that's, again, back to BJS. BJS is the statistic-based group, and they have information that I couldn't imagine to delve into. But if you need to know something, you would contact them. NIJ is a leader in research. NIJ is our just about DOJ's research arm. Any research that you think about trying to do, they have either done, are doing, or have in the process of getting done. However, if you did want to research something specific, you'll reach out to them, and maybe you could come up with something they haven't stumbled across yet. But that's who NIJ is. That's what they do. Okay. Let's move on to OJJDP, the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. JJ works in that realm. They envision a nation where children are free from crime and violence. They provide national leadership, coordination, and resources to prevent and respond to youth delinquency and victimization. And they help states, localities, and tribes develop the systems that will help these children. OJJDP is one of the 6 program offices, and they do really great work inside of their sphere. We'll talk a little bit more about them as we go along, but JJ is a great resource if you want to try to dig into and work on juvenile justice issues. The Office for Victims of Crime is our 5th program office. OVC raises awareness of crime victims' issues, supports programs that help all victims in the aftermath of crime. OVC is having doing a whole lot of building up and work right now, because next month, April, is Crime Victims Month. So you should be seeing a whole lot of information about them moving forward. And the Office of Sex Offender Sentencing, Monitoring, Apprehending, Registering, and Tracking is our SMART office. And SMART helps jurisdictions meet federal sex offender registration notification standards. So SMART deals with SORNA, one of the programs that we'll talk about here later that many of you probably know about. And that's who they are and what they do. So those are our 6 program offices, and they all, again, work in concert with one another to try to help jurisdictions, localities, tribes get the information, training, technical assistance, programmatic development, and grant funding to really help make sure that their constituents get what they need. So this is a slide on the office on OJP. It's got kind of a little bit of a flow chart on how to work through our grant systems. And again, if you want more information, you visit Justice Grants at usdoj.gov, justicegrants.usdoj.gov, and you should be able to dig through our whole website and find what it is you're looking for. So we'll go into some of the types of DOJ grants. There are 2 that we're going to talk about today. So discretionary awards are ones that are awarded directly by DOJ to eligible recipients. Applicants apply directly to DOJ. So a discretionary award, you sitting behind your computer screen right now would be the person who's applying for that award and going through that process. They're typically awarded on a competitive basis using a merit-based review process, and applications undergo a preliminary review process to ensure that they are complete and meet eligibility requirements. Those are the discretionary grants that we give out. Formula grants are typically administered and managed by your state administering agencies or other DOJ-approved fiscal agents. And I'll get information to Lisa and the group on who your SAA is. I can't lift their name off the top of my head right now, but I'll get that to you before the end of our talk today. And the distribution of funds among eligible recipients is either statutorily defined or defined by distribution process specified by DOJ. So formula grants will come through your state administering office agency and then flow down to the stakeholder. So Grant resources, and this is a very important slide. General resources are, again, on justice.gov /grants. The solicitations that for our offices are posted on these websites here below. And again, I'll make sure that these slides get out to the group. For OJP, OVW, and COPS, they're all listed here. Now, the grants management and payment systems, the Just Grants resource website is one that I want everyone here to log into and dig through. Just Grants is going to be your single point of information to know everything you need to know about applying for grants. So make sure that you click on that, justicegrants.usdoj.gov, and explore that website to get information that you need. In the Department of the Treasury's ASAP, that's the payment site that you kind of go to after you get granted your funds, and then you go through the process of trying to get them distributed to you. All right, the Just Grants DOJ grants management system. It is the Department of Justice's unified grants management system for COPS, OJP, and OVW. It's intended to enhance grant making by using state-of-the-art technology, building on existing best practices, addressing areas that have been identified for innovation and efficiency, innovating how we use data, and designing a solution that meets user needs. For grantees with awards across all 3 grant-making components, this is intended to ease the burden of grants management. The resource website, which is listed below, provides information and resources to assist award applicants, recipients, and stakeholders in using Just Grants. You access training, user support, news, and updates on this site. Again, please copy that website and dig into it to try to get more information about Just Grants. They have Q&A sessions. And some of these change as we go. For this grant season, this is the most updated information that I have. They facilitate weekly sessions. They provide topic-specific training, technical assistance, all of those things. So again, the Justice Grants website is where you want to go to get that information and find out what their webinars are, their post-award management Q&A sessions, award acceptance, all of that will be on that site. Now, let's dig in a little bit to the New Mexico awards that have been given so far in the last fiscal year. This new fiscal year, FY23, it has not come to an end yet. There's still a lot of grants out there on the street. So FY23 numbers will be, coming down the road. However, this slide here gives you a view, it gives you a map of New Mexico and kind of gives you a little bit of a view as to where the grants were given. You can see a cluster of them are right there in the center of the state, right around Albuquerque. And some of them are spread out further and wider. And if you look over to the right-hand side at the top, you can see a breakdown of the congressional districts, how many grants were awarded per district, and how much funding went into those grants per district, and to a grand total of about $32 million, almost 33, for New Mexico. So that was last fiscal year. What we hope to do is to continue to make that funding available to the folks in New Mexico and around the country, but to also make sure that you're aware of that funding and other grant funding that you might be eligible to apply for. So that's giving you a grand total for the state, and it breaks it down also to the congressional districts. And once again, I'll reach out to your to Lisa and the group and give them this information and whatever other breakouts they'd want to have for it. The table below breaks down the program offices and their awards for New Mexico. As you can see, BJA is by far and away the leader of number of grants awarded. And again, law enforcement, corrections are kind of their bailiwick. So, you know, they may end up with a lot more folks that are applying for their awards. But as you can see, OVC, while they, you know, gave out half or a little bit less than half of the award that BJA did, they awarded more funding to the tune of almost 17 million. So you may qualify for grants from BJA that are large or small, grants from OVC that are the same, but you want to apply for the funding that makes sense to you and your constituency, and then see how that spells itself out. One of the things that I'm very disappointed about here is that SMART only has one solicitation that was granted in New Mexico. I don't know why. And that's another part of the conversation that we should have today. But I don't know why New Mexico doesn't apply for more SMART or OJJDP funding. But we need to figure that out. And hopefully this grant workshop will help to disseminate information so that folks will know more about this grant funding and be able to apply further. It seems the BJA and OVC are getting the word out and their information is being disseminated, but I want to make sure that all 6 program offices, and as you can see, NIJ and BJS are not on here at all for New Mexico. I want to make sure that New Mexico constituents are applying for all of that grant funding and that we can change these numbers for FY23 and 24. So you are going to want additional information and resources. Our website is ojp.gov. If you go to that website, it has links to and connections with all of our program offices. It takes you on a rundown of everything, and you can go down a rabbit hole and spend a day or two lost in ojp.gov. And I invite you to. And again, once you start going down that rabbit hole, reach out to me and let me know, and I'll help to navigate for you. Our comms office, that phone number there will get the main number or the main office, and someone will reach out to me and tell me that, you know, they called here looking for you, Dennis. You need to call this person back. We have Twitter page. If you go to it, it is updated regularly and gives information about what we're doing, some of the events that we're involved in, you know, things of that nature. So you can go to Twitter. Just Info gives you information about publications and those things. You can subscribe to the e-newsletter at the website below. And the resource website is justicegrants.usdoj.gov. And if you go there, again, you'll be able to get information that you need about Just Grants. So I've come to the close of my slideshow. What I want to do now is to first start dropping some information into the chat that goes a little bit more in depth into information about that I got directly from the program offices. And most of that information is about tribal solicitations. So I will get that stuff here into you right now. Let's see. Please excuse me, I'm a Neanderthal, so my ability to navigate the internet is limited, but okay. The information I just dropped in just now is specific to OJJDP. JJ has this information. So CTAS, the Coordinated Tribal Assistance Solicitation, is one that everyone here should know about. The deadline for CTAS is today. Now, I'll put some information in a little bit later on when I drop OVC's info, and you can, work through it. But if you want to apply for CTAS, please go to this website and take a look at it. There are 7 purpose areas that CTAS is involved in, and I've got some fact sheets for OJP's purpose areas. They have 7 and 9, I think it is. So I'll get those fact sheets again to Lisa and the group and get them out to you. So, if you have any questions, if you want to speak to someone directly in the tribal office about CTAS, there's a email address there for them. And then the Tribal Youth Resource Center is below it. And I will now give you the information from OVC. The Office of Victims of Crime also has a really kind of robust tribal solicitation. Sorry about this. I'm trying to cut and paste here. It's not working out for me. But they've got a lot of tribal information as well. So I'm going to try to get that here to you in a second. Let's see if I can get it out. All right, well, I'll talk to you about it then. So they've got funding opportunities, and I'll get those to you as well. The only solicitations that are limited for eligibility on a current list of opportunities are the National Mass Violence Victimization Resource Center and the HT Fellowship. I talked to you about CTAS, and I want to give you some of the information that she gave me in order for you to be able to look at it, in order to know how to navigate CTAS, because the application doesn't have to be in on the 21st, but you've got to submit by the grants.gov deadline. You've got to do a number of things in order to be able to qualify. So I want to try to get that information to you. And if I can't get it into you in the chat, then I'll figure out a way to get it to the group. And then again, they can ensure that that information gets to you. We also have, OVC also has the Tribal Victim Services Set Aside, the TVSSA program. I've got a report in my hot little hands I want to give to you. There's an overview of the TVSSA program up to this point. The deadline for the first phase has already passed for FY 2023. So I want to try to make you aware of it for next year. So again, I'll get that stuff to you here as soon as I can from OVC, and see if I can't make sure that you're aware of that information as we move forward. The Smart Office also has information. Worked out for you. So the Smart Office is very interested. Their priority is to make sure that the Adam Walsh Act is something that you know about and that you can apply for. So the solicitation is also put up here. The grants.gov deadline is April 5th. So you want to get started, if you haven't already, on getting information about and trying to apply for AWA. The TAP program also is something that you want to be aware of. And it is, you can apply for access to national criminal justice databases, and the open period is usually later on in the year. So I'll make sure that you get that information. And BJA also has a lot of information, but I haven't been able to get them to get anything to me. They've been really very slammed. It is grant season right now. So I've been having a hard time getting them on the phone because they're really, hooking and jabbing, trying to make sure that these grants get out to the grantees that apply. So I am done running my mouth for right now. What I want to do, however, is to field whatever questions I can. And if I can answer them on the spot, I will. And if I can't, again, I'll take them back to the group at the office and make sure that they get opportunity to answer them for you. So please fire away. I'm going to look into the Q&A as well.
Dennis, this is Lisa. Can you hear me?
I can hear you well. Lisa.
Okay, thank you. Finally, thanks everyone. I'm so sorry again for my audio having the hardest time. I do have a couple questions from the presentation. I know you did mention that you wanted to see more SMART, BJS, and OVC grants coming from New Mexico. Given the capacity of the state and given sometimes the rural communities that are interested in these programs but are having difficulties applying, do they have to be law enforcement officials, or can the law enforcement officials that serve these communities work with the community leaders, work with the local mayors, the local towns? Can they work with like social workers and hospital workers to make this happen, or does it always have to come from a law enforcement perspective? I know there's certain programs that are directly law enforcement have to apply, but for things like victim services or like juvenile justice programs, can they come from other members within the community helping out our law enforcement officials?
Thank you for lobbing me that softball, Lisa. It is encouraged for participants, for applicants to be multimodal, to work alongside, as many partners as they can to try to apply for the grants that we give to you. When you go through the grant descriptions, it will give you a detailed account of who and how to apply, who the specific group is that would be eligible for the grant. All of that information will be spelled out as best as possible in the grant description. So you won't ever question who the person or the group organization is that's going to be applying, but you always, and it's very encouraged to work in concert with your partners in the community, in law enforcement, in state, whatever other stakeholders, to try to get the grants applied for.
Okay, thank you. I have a follow-up question to that. I know you mentioned that the Just Grants website has the Q&A sessions on the different days. Are these Q&A sessions to help our applicants like work through their application process, or is this generally about the programs itself and sort of any questions if they're not sure where they apply to with their direct need? And so can you just clarify a little bit more information on that? And if so, if our law enforcement are able to ask specific questions to their application, or is this more of like them looking where to go for these types of resources?
The sessions are generally 30,000 foot view and give general information about the whatever the topic area is. However, they do open themselves up for questions, and you can ask them specific questions about your specific issue and be put in contact with the right point of contact to make sure that that specific granular question gets answered.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions? If you need a few more minutes to type your questions into the chat, you're more than welcome to do so now. Staff that are on, did you guys have any questions? I know sometimes you guys see things from a different lens perspective, especially the field reps in the state. You see it quite differently than I do, or that Dennis does, or that even that some of the applicants. So David, Sylvia, if you've got any questions, please let me know.
Yeah, Dennis, this is Sylvia from the Las Cruces field office, and I'm kind of curious. I noticed there's, thank you for this presentation, appreciate it. I think that we in the South just from that map, we're not seeing as many grants, and certainly in Southwest New Mexico, we saw none. So how do we encourage folks from doing that? Does DOJ kind of look at the distribution of its grants as it's making decisions to award? And then maybe you can give me a little sense of what the SMART, like what type of programs this SMART grant would cover, so that we can encourage some of our constituents to apply.
So I don't want to delve into the SMART issue. What I will do though is please give me that question in email or some type of text form, and I'll get it to Sarah today and get her to give me an answer and give you a complete, full, granular response to it. However, to answer your first question, I think that what we're doing right now is the answer, trying to disseminate information to get people, behind their computer screen or in a room to talk about these issues, because they may not know that the grant funding is available to them. They might not know where to look for it, how to apply. They may have looked into it and seen that it was really, detailed and complicated and just kind of gave up and walked away from it. But we need to try to encourage those grantees, those applicants, to apply and go through the process, and we'll help them as much as we can. And I think that is one of the critical points of vulnerability on this, that folks just really don't feel like they have any opportunity to get these grants. They just kind of throw their hands up and walk away. And I don't want that. So we need to keep doing more of this and get the information out.
Thank you.
Dennis, I sort of have a follow-up to that. If we do have law enforcement officials or town members that did apply to some of these grants and they were denied, or do they call the same sort of websites and phone numbers you're providing in your slides to get information on why their application was rejected, and to talk about some of those points that they can strengthen for the next year? Or do they have to go to a specific sort of process through the return on saying why they were denied to begin with? Could you kind of elaborate on how that works for them, so that if they are applying to something in the future, they can continue to work to strengthen their application for the next year?
Yeah, every one of the grants, the applicants will have a grant manager, and that person will be your single point of contact throughout the entirety of the process. So when you get to the end of it and you've been either granted or denied, reaching out to that grant manager is really the first step. I can't speak to the conversations that they end up having at the end of the process, whether you were granted an award or not. But I do know that they're the people who have the specific information. They've had your grant application since the beginning, since the day you put it into grants.gov. So they know more about it than anyone but you. So they'll be the person to talk to about those issues as you move forward. And in order to strengthen the application itself, really, there are so many webinars, so much information on ojp.gov and the specific program office websites that you can get really whatever information you want, and then be able to reach out to a point of contact to say, okay, well, I don't understand what this means. Can you give me some feedback on that? And be able to help work yourself through the process. I would advise everyone to start as early as possible on working on the grant that you want to apply for. You don't want to do it the day before. You want to give yourself a few months to, kind of get the wrinkles out and build that really strong application.
Sylvia, I know you're asked a direct question, so I think you just answered it. Yeah, okay, perfect.
I hope I'm giving you a little bit of insight from answering the question. Again, I am not the subject matter expert here, but I'm doing the best I can to help you with what I can.
No, that's perfectly understandable. And like like you had mentioned earlier, if anyone has any specific questions, we can address them to you for a specific program. I know Sylvia mentioned the SMART for that reason. She wanted more information on that. So if anyone has any specific programs they want maybe a little bit more information on, please drop it in the chat. Any of the other field reps, if you have any questions, I think you covered all the ones I was noticing from it. So I'll just give it a few more minutes if anyone wants to ask anything. Okay, so while I wait to see if there's any last minute questions, again, everyone, I do want to thank you all for attending. I do apologize for my audio issues today, but like I said, I was not the star of the show. It was Dennis and the justice programs that he was talking about. But I am the grants coordinator for the New Mexico Congressional Delegation Office. So while I am limited with certain things that I can help you with and not help you with, one of the things I'm able to assist with is a letter of support. So if you are interested in applying for one of these grant programs, you can request a letter of support from any of the members, everyone in the delegation, whether senator staff or it's a House representative staff, they should all know who I am at this point. So please do not worry about spelling my last name. You just have to start with like Lisa Van and everyone will know who I am at this point. So you can request through any of the members. They will all get it back to me. I help coordinate for that and I can provide the letter of support to your grant application for that. Or if you have any general questions on these programs and you can't quite remember Dennis's email or you want more information on other programs within DOJ, I also help coordinate those discussions. So if you are looking at some of the other stuff that was in Dennis's thing, such as like the COPS one, we do have a webinar that we recorded a couple weeks ago. I can share that as well. Some information there to help you guys along. I don't see anything in the chat. So staff, any last questions for the ones that are on?
And real quick, I dumped a bunch of information into the chat room, but I was able to get OJJDP and SMART there. The OVC information I dumped into the Q&A. So okay. All of that stuff should be available to you.
Okay, yeah, we have all of it. And like I said, everyone, this is recorded, so we will get you guys a recording. We will get you all of the information as well as the slides and some additional things that I send out when I work with constituents on grant searches or letters of support. So all of that information will be provided later. If you do come up with any questions at the last minute, please let anyone know from Senator Heinrich's team members. I know a couple of them dropped their emails in the chat. You can email Dennis or myself, or you can again contact me through any of the 5 delegation offices and they can help coordinate to get some of those responses too.